An encounter adapted from James Joyce F65. Adapted and modified by Kulwant Singh Sandhu. Contents 1. An encounter. 2. Comprehension. 3. Grammar page. An encounter adapted from James Joyce. Joe Dillon introduced us to the Wild West. He owned a small collection of old adventure magazines like the Union Jack and the Halfpenny Marvel. After school, we met in his back garden to play games inspired by these stories. Joe and his younger brother Leo, who was chubby and lazy, defended the stable's loft while we tried to attack it. Sometimes we fought battles on the grass. No matter how hard we tried, we never won. Every game ended with Joe dancing around, shouting like a Native American from the stories. He wore an old tea cozy as a hat, banged a tin with his fist, and yelled, "Yeah, yaka, yaka, yaka." Joe's parents went to church every morning, and their house felt calm and religious. But Joe played too roughly for us younger boys, who were more timid. Everyone was shocked when we heard Joe wanted to become a priest. It seemed impossible, but it was true. His wild games made us feel rebellious. We forgot our differences and joined together, some bravely, some just for fun, and others, like me, because we didn't want to seem weak or too studious. The Wild West stories didn't match my quiet personality, but they offered an escape from boring school life. I preferred American detective stories, especially ones with tough, beautiful girls who appeared now and then. These stories were passed around secretly at school. One day, Father Butler, our teacher, caught Leo Dillon with a copy of the Halfpenny Marvel during a history lesson. "What's this?" Father Butler said, frowning at the magazine. "The Apache Chief, is this what you read instead of studying Roman history? This is rubbish. The writer probably drinks too much. I'm surprised at boys like you reading such nonsense. Get back to your work, Dillon, or you'll be in trouble." Father Butler's words made the Wild West seem less exciting. Leo's embarrassed face reminded me of my own guilt. But when school was over, I wanted adventure again. The evening games in Joe's garden became boring, just like school. I wanted real adventures, not pretend ones. I realized that real adventures don't happen at home. You have to go find them. The summer holidays were close, and I decided to skip school for one day. I planned this with Leo Dillon and a boy named Mahoney. We each saved 6 for the trip. We agreed to meet at 10 in the morning on the canal bridge. Mahoney's sister would write an excuse for him, and Leo would tell his brother to say he was sick. Our plan was to walk along Wharf Road, see the ships, take a ferry across the river, and visit the Pigeon House, a power station in Dublin. Leo worried we might meet Father Butler, but Mahoney laughed and said, "What would Father Butler be doing at the Pigeon House?" That made us feel better. I collected 6 from each of them, showing them my own to prove I was serious. The night before, we were excited. We shook hands, laughing, and Mahoney said, "See you tomorrow, mates." That night I couldn't sleep well. I lived closest to the bridge, so I arrived first. I hid my schoolbooks in the grass near our garden's ash pit, where no one would find them, and hurried to the canal. It was a warm, sunny morning in early June. I sat on the bridge's stone edge, looking at my clean canvas shoes, which I'd whitened the night before. I watched horses pulling a tram up the hill, their movements slow and steady. The trees along the canal had bright green leaves, and sunlight shone through them onto the water. The stone under my hands felt warm. I was happy, humming a tune in my head. After a few minutes, I saw Mahoney coming, wearing a gray suit. He climbed up beside me, smiling. He showed me a catapult he'd brought, explaining how he'd improved it. I asked why he had it, and he said he wanted to scare some birds. Mahoney used a lot of slang and called Father Butler Old Bunser. We waited 15 more minutes, but Leo didn't come. Manny jumped down and said, "I knew Fatty would chicken out." "What about his sixpence?" I asked. "It's ours now," Manny said. "We've got more money this way." We walked along North Strand Road until we reached the Vitriol Works, a factory, and then turned onto Wharf Road. Once we were out of sight, Mahoney started acting like a Native American from Joe's games. He chased a group of poor-looking girls with his empty catapult. 2 boys threw stones at us to defend the girls, but I said they were too small to fight. Manny agreed and we kept walking. The girls' friends shouted swaddlers at us, thinking we were Protestants because Mahoney wore a cricket badge on his cap. We tried to stage a pretend siege at a place called the Smoothing Iron, but it didn't work because we needed at least 3 people. We were annoyed with Leo and said he'd probably get in trouble with Mr. Ryan, our teacher, later. We reached the river around noon. The streets were noisy, with high stone walls, cranes, and carts. Drivers shouted at us to move. We saw workers eating lunch, so we bought 2 big currant buns and sat on some pipes by the river to eat. We watched Dublin's busy port, barges with smoke rising, fishing boats near Ringsend, and a large white ship being unloaded across the river. Mahoney said it would be fun to run away to sea on one of those ships. Even I, looking at the tall masts, felt the geography I'd studied in school come to life. School and home seemed far away, and their rules felt weaker. We took a ferry across the Liffey River, paying a small fee. We shared the boat with 2 workers, and a small man carrying a bag. We were serious, but when our eyes met, Mahoney and I laughed. On the other side, we watched the big ship being unloaded. Someone said it was Norwegian. I tried to read the ship's name but couldn't. I looked at the sailors, wondering if any had green eyes, though I wasn't sure why. Their eyes were blue, gray, or black. One tall sailor, whose eyes looked slightly green, shouted, "All right," every time wooden planks fell, making the crowd laugh. We got tired of watching and walked into Ringsend. The day was hot and heavy. Grocers' shops had old biscuits in their windows. We couldn't find a dairy, so we bought raspberry lemonade at a small shop and drank it as we walked through dirty streets where fishermen's families lived. Mahoney chased a cat down an alley, but it escaped into a field. We were both tired and sat on a sloping bank by the Dodder River. It was too late to reach the pigeon house, and we had to be home by 4 to avoid getting caught. Mahoney looked at his catapult, disappointed. I suggested taking the train back, and he cheered up a little. The sun hid behind clouds, leaving us with our tired thoughts and leftover crumbs. We were alone in the field. I chewed a green stem and felt lazy. Then I saw a man walking slowly toward us from the far end of the field. He wore a worn-out, dark green suit and an old-fashioned hat. He looked older with a gray mustache. He glanced at us quickly as he passed, then turned back after a few steps. He walked so slowly, tapping a stick on the ground, that I thought he was looking for something in the grass. He stopped near us and said, "Good day." We replied politely, and he sat down carefully on the bank. He talked about the weather, saying it would be a hot summer. He said things had changed since he was young, a long time ago. He said the best time in life was being a schoolboy, and that he'd give anything to be young again. His words bored us, but we stayed quiet. Then he asked if we'd read books by Thomas Moore, Sir Walter Scott, or Lord Lytton. I lied and said I'd read them all so he wouldn't think I was ignorant. He said he loved those books and owned them all. Pointing at Mahoney, he said, "He's different. He likes games, not books." Then he asked which of us had the most sweethearts. Mahoney said he had 3 girlfriends, joking. I said I had none. The man didn't believe me and insisted I must have one. I stayed quiet. Mahoney boldly asked, "How many did you have?" The man smiled and said that when he was our age, He had many sweethearts. Every boy has a little sweetheart, he said. His words seemed strange for an older man. I thought he was being open-minded, but I didn't like how he said it. He shivered sometimes as if he was cold or scared. He started talking about girls, saying they had soft hair and hands, but not all were as good as they seemed. He kept repeating this, his voice low and strange, like he was sharing a secret. It felt like he was stuck on the same idea, circling it again and again. I looked away, staring at the ground, but kept listening. After a while, he stopped talking. He stood up and said he'd be back in a few minutes. He walked away slowly. Manny whispered, "Look what he's doing." I didn't look, but Manny said, "He's a strange old man." I suggested we give fake names if he asked. Manny would be Murphy, and I'd be Smith. The man came back and sat down again. Manny saw the cat from earlier and ran after it, throwing stones when it climbed a wall. The man watched, then turned to me. He said my friend was very rough and asked if he got punished at school. I wanted to say we weren't the kind of boys who got whipped, but I stayed quiet. He started talking about punishing boys, saying a rough boy needed a good whipping, not just a slap. His voice was soft, almost kind, but his words were strange. He said if he caught a boy talking to girls or lying about a sweetheart, he'd whip him hard. He described it slowly, like it was something he loved. His green eyes stared at me, and I looked away, feeling uneasy. When he paused, I stood up quickly. I pretended to fix my shoe to hide my fear, then said I had to go. I walked up the bank, my heart beating fast, afraid he might grab me. At the top, I turned and shouted, "Murphy." My voice sounded brave, but I felt ashamed of my fear. I called again, and Manny ran to me, as if coming to help. I felt guilty because, deep down, I had always looked down on Manny a little. Now I was grateful for him. 2 comprehension questions and answers. Question 1. Who introduced the Wild West games to the boys? Question 2. What did the boys plan to do when they skipped school? Question 3. Why didn't Leo Dillon join the adventure? Question 4. What did Manny bring with him on the adventure? Question 5. What did Father Butler find in Leo Dillon's pocket? Question 6. Where did the boys eat their currant buns? Question 7. What did the boys see being unloaded across the river? Question 8. How did the strange man look when he first approached the boys? Question 9. What did the man talk about that made the narrator uncomfortable? Question 10. Why did the narrator feel guilty at the end of the story? Answers. Answer 1. Joe Dillon introduced the Wild West games to the boys. Answer 2. They planned to walk along Wharf Road, see the ships, take a ferry across the river, and visit the Pigeon House. Answer 3. Leo Dillon didn't join because he was scared and didn't show up at the canal bridge. Answer 4. Manny brought a catapult to scare birds. Answer 5. Father Butler found a copy of the Halfpenny Marvel magazine. Answer 6. They ate their currant buns on some pipes by the river. Answer 7. They saw a large white ship which someone said was Norwegian. Answer 8. He wore a worn-out dark green suit, an old-fashioned hat, and had a gray mustache. Answer 9. The man talked about girls' soft hair and hands, and how he would whip boys who talked to girls or lied about sweethearts. Answer 10. The narrator felt guilty because he had always looked down on Mahoney, but was grateful when Mahoney ran to help him. 3 grammar page.